For today's Monday makeup lesson, I'm going to show you how to create a classic smoky eye. It's one of those looks that looks so good on so many people, and I have lots of tips and tricks to show you guys to make sure it works perfectly for you. So let's get started. The first step to a perfect smoky eye is to make sure you're priming the lids, and you can use eyeshadow primer or concealer, but you really want to make sure you're completely covering the lid from the lash line up to the brows to create a blank canvas. This is to disguise any discoloration that we might naturally have on our lids and also give the eyeshadow something to hold on to. So you actually want to leave your eyeshadow primer or concealer just a little sticky. This will actually grab hold of the shadow. However, I do have a little trick to make sure you also get a good blend, so we'll get to that in a second. With any eye makeup look, the main areas of the eye would be the crease area, and the crease area is really important in a smoky eye. If you think of what smoke is, it's that deep dark color that then fades into nothing. And the crease area is where that fading into nothing happens. Crease area is basically where the lid creases into the eye shape, but it stops just underneath the brow bone. And of course you have the lid as well. And for a smoky eye, I actually divide the lid into an upper and a lower part. Now as far as eyeshadows go, I've created a little smoky palette for us, and you want to adapt this to work with your own skin tone. So the first shade is what I refer to as the base shade. So it's very similar to your own skin tone, could be a little lighter. We then have our contour shade. This should be a few shades darker than your own skin tone. And then you have your mid-tone, and your mid-tone is probably the most important. A lot of people refer to this as the transition shade. This is somewhere in between the base and the contour. That's why I call it a mid-tone, because it's a middle tone. And then we have our smoky shadow. So our smoky shade is basically whatever type of smoky eye that you want to create. I'm going to create a black one. So let's get started with this look, taking a blending brush and our base shade. And this is my little trick to get that perfect blend. We're basically going to start at the crease of the eye and then work up underneath the brows. So you want to pack on this base shade to create a silky powdery effect, but avoid the lid. We want the lid to stay a little tacky from the concealer and the primer. We want that crease to be really powdery, really easy to blend over. By applying that powder, we're basically going to create an easier, softer blend. Remember how I said concealer and primer gives the shadow something to hold on to? Well, this powdery base will make sure we have something to blend over, and that's how you get that perfect soft blend. Just make sure to avoid the lid, don't come down too far, keep it from the crease right up to the brows. For the next step, we're going to keep with that same blending brush, and I haven't cleaned it off, and we're going to go in with our mid-tone, or our middle tone, or our transition shade. And we're going to start over everything that we've already applied, but we're going to stop under the brow bone. The first shadow went from the crease right up underneath the brows, avoiding the lid. And use this little diagram as a representation of what we're doing here. We're starting in this crease area and then softly blending upwards. If you're not sure where to stop and start your blend, you basically want to keep it in between these two parallel points. It looks really complicated, but it's basically